Hey y'all! Today's build is for the African Crested Porcupine. Originally, I was somewhat dreading building for these guys since I'm not that good at building small scale. However, the second I took a look at the porcupine, I honestly fell in love. I hate to say it, but I think these guys might be my favorite animals so far. Once again, I'm also going to add some facts for these guys. I'm going to sum up some of the information I got from the Oregon Zoo page on the porcupine. The African Crested Porcupine is native to Italy, North Africa, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa, and can range from about 24 to 36 inches long and weigh from 22 to 66 pounds. Their average lifespan is around 20 years both in captivity and the wild. They are of least concern when it comes to conservation, however their main threats are hunting, both human and animal, as well as illegal poisons since the porcupine can be seen as a pest to croplands. They are a food source for large African predators such as lions, hyenas, and leopards. Their favorite foods are fruits and tubers, and usually they live in dens during the day since they are nocturnal. One of the cutest facts I found was that their offspring are called porcupets. One of the scariest facts I found is that they have been found to chew on bones. With that out of the way, let's get right into the build. For the shelter, I had some trouble deciding exactly what to build. I wanted to include guests in some way, but I really don't like buildings that fully separate the guest from the animals because they can feel claustrophobic to me. I decided on making my own walls with painted temple pieces and added some extra colors to make it feel less plain to look at. I also rounded some of the corners. I added some one-way windows for the guests to view the animals in both the open area and the shelter. For the roofing, I didn't quite know what to do, so I played around with these painted pieces of wood. I chose a nice warm color and spaced them out in an interesting way once again to make it less plain. I made a little arched roof segment for the area that peered into the enclosure as well as on the shelter in order to give it some height for the build. After finishing the roofing, I worked on the door for the porcupine and moved on to fencing. I found these pretty wonderful looking rock walls from the Steam Workshop and added some square faux rocks to act as a connecting point, as well as smooth it out the edges. I added a fence piece to curve the top and make the area feel more contained before adding some rocks to tie the whole area together, as well as provide some height. Afterwards, I added some plants on top of the large rock wall for some texture, and smoothed it all out with some terrain textures, plants, and the bottom of some stalagmites in order to blend it all into the soil smoothly. I went back to Zephyr Zoo to grab some of the rock piles I've used for gravel, before adding those to help add more texture to the area, since there wasn't too much to work with in the form of planting. After I added some habitat items, I felt like I was pretty much done. Of course, I had to wait for a porcupet to complete the entirety of the build since they're just so cute. Overall, this enclosure was fairly straightforward to build. I really like what I ended up doing with the roofing situation, and I just cannot get over how adorable the porcupines are. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the comments and likes on my last few videos, and I'm hoping to continue the challenge with the African leopard in the 5th installment of the series. Bye!